Hey guys, this is Furman with BABY.com, and this is our new video segment of the run-through. So in this video, I'm going to be going through a few of the comics I bought in the past few weeks. Of course, I won't go through all of them because I'm very responsible with my money, and that would take a very long time. So let's just look at some highlights. First comic I want to talk about is Guardians of the Galaxy, written by Brian Michael Bendis with art by Valerio Skitz and Richard Isanov. What really caught my eye with this is obviously the new Star-Lord. So, as you can see, the team is made up of some of the original members of Guardians of the Galaxy. You got Groot, Drax, and Rocket. But we also have the Thing. We've got Venom, Flash Thompson Venom, which Rick Remender's Venom was a really fantastic comic. You guys should check it out right now. And Kitty Pryde is Star-Lord. And what I really enjoy about that is you already know what kind of humor it's going to have. Kitty Pryde is very charismatic, but very intelligent, very driven, and silly at times, which is perfect for characters like Rocket and Groot and Drax even. Peter Quill is still in the comic, but he's not there so much. There's specifically one segment where Kitty Pryde is trying to convince Rocket to do something using only body movements, and the paneling is great with that, and it's hilarious. Don't know if I'll keep buying it because I'm trying to keep my costs down, but if the next few issues are good, I'll stick with it. Next thing that I really enjoyed was Miss Marvel. Now, this is one of the most popular comics out there right now. It's written by G. Willow Wilson, art by Adrian Alfano and Ian Herring. It's very popular because, though I don't think it's solely because of this, it's Muslim teenager superheroine. But what this comic does is it handles the religion of this character, which, of course, is not her defining characteristic, but is very prominent in a very mature way. We have characters like her parents who are much stricter in their religion, and her brother who is definitely a little bit more strict than her, Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. But it's not their sole defining trait, and that's what I really love about this. And as the child of immigrant parents, I definitely relate to these people. The reality that you're being looked at differently almost all the time, and how her brother is a religious guy, but he's still just a normal guy. And it sounds so simple when you say it like that, but it's a revelation for some people, which I know that there's some people out there that found this to be anti-American, which blows my mind. I'm stoked with this because it's great character growth. It's just a teenage girl that's being handled so well by G. Willow Wilson. And I've been buying it since day one, and I'm going to keep buying it until I hate it, which I probably won't. So the next thing that I want to talk about is I Hate Fairyland by Scotty Young and Jean-Francois Boulot. I do not speak French. I'm about as French as my socks. That doesn't even make sense. Now, get a good look at this cover. You can kind of tell where Scotty Young is going and what direction he's kind of going with in these comics. Obviously, you can tell that it's a little violent and a little cartoonish. This little girl gets taken into Fairyland when she's about 7 or 8 years old and is tasked with finding this key to get her back home. And, there's plenty of stories out there like that. But the twist here is she doesn't actually find the key and is stuck there for 27 years or so. There's one portion where the moon is narrating her life and talking about this lost little girl. So she kills him. I didn't know you could kill the moon, but she did. There's a lot of really deranged portions in this book, but you have to see where it's going. Next thing I'll talk about really quick, Invincible. Written by Robert Kirkman, art by Ryan Ottley. Robert Kirkman, as you know, is the writer of The Walking Dead, probably the most popular comic out there right now. This comic is great at showing how funny Robert Kirkman is, and Ryan Ottley's art is fantastic. I bought a few of his prints the other day, and I love it. You can actually see them if you watch a loot drop video, which I will post a link to downstairs whenever it's up. Ryan Kirkman has stated that he absolutely hates reboots, and so naturally he does one of his own. But it's Mark, or Invincible, going back in time, and we see him where he first started, on the toilet. It's very interesting to see how he reacts to and how he interacts with all these characters that are, plenty of them are dead. Some of them he is romantically involved with, or all this history that he has and knows about them. And there hasn't been much right now, but I feel like it's going to blow up, and I'm really stoked on that. Next, I want to talk about Tokyo Ghost. Give you a better look at that. This is the second issue. I had the first issue hiding somewhere, and I just don't feel like looking for it. Written by Rick Remender, one of my favorite writers, and art by Sean Murphy and Matt Hollingsworth. This one's about this tech-obsessed world, not unlike our own today, but people are literally addicted to technology, to TV shows, reality shows, pornography, all simultaneously. These people are watching them on these holographic screens in front of them almost continuously. And the main characters, I don't remember their names at the moment, I'm sorry, but the girl, she is tech-free, while the guy, her love interest, her husband, her boyfriend, somewhere in there, is completely enamored with all this media. And he literally cannot stop watching it. And they're tasked with going to Tokyo, where it's apparently supposed to be very tech-free. I want to see this relationship grow. That's what I'm really stoked about. And the art is just gorgeous. I mean, Sean Murphy can do no wrong. And so I'm really excited to see where this is going, because it's going to deal with addiction. It's going to deal with technology in today. And I know technology is addressing so much media, but it's not to the point where it's literally destroying your life. And that's what it's doing to this character. So I want to see where this goes. Those are some of the comics that I bought in the past couple of weeks. But now I want to tell you guys about some recommendations. We all know Halloween is coming up, and it's very important for us to get scared. So here's a few comics that are pretty damn scary. The first one I want to talk about is another Robert Kirkman comic, Outcast. Written by Robert Kirkman and art by Paul Azaceta. Many of you already know that there is a show coming out for this on Showtime. Stars? Showtime. The trailer looks great, and I'm really excited for it. But many people might just think, oh, it's going to be another Walking Dead. But it's definitely not. If you're reading this, it is much more personal than The Walking Dead. I know The Walking Dead has spanned so much already. It's issue 150 something or 160. I don't even know. Outcast, talks about battling your personal demons and having to help others with those demons. A lot of times you yourself are demonized because of this. The main character has to literally beat the shit out of people sometimes. I mean, it doesn't really make sense why, and that's only because it hasn't been explained. But it's pretty terrifying to know that the only way you can really exercise a child is by hitting them. And obviously I don't like that, but it's a great comic, and it's very creepy. Last recommendation of these single issue comics, I'll get into some graphic novels soon, is Witches. This is probably my favorite ongoing comic at the moment. Ongoing horror comic, to be exact. This is written by Scott Snyder, who's currently doing Batman and is being amazing at it, with art by Jock and Matt Hollingsworth. And this talks about this new family, specifically this little girl named Sailor. When her and her family moved to a new town where people pledge or sacrifice other people to these witches. And the witches themselves are just, they're so creepy. I love it. But what it really deals with is the fear of being a bad parent, which is something that's not addressed in a lot of things. I mean, the fear of knowing that you could hurt your child so much more than anybody else can, or if something happens to your child, it is your fault because you're the one person responsible for this child. And one thing I highly recommend if you're checking this out is read the essays in the back, because they add so much more. Especially in the first issue, there is an essay in the back about how Scott Snyder, conceived this idea, and that was almost scarier than the comic, which is saying a lot. Let's go through a couple more recommendations, but these are graphic novels as opposed to just single issues. Like, first one I want to quickly talk about is Arkham Asylum by Grant Morrison and Dave McKean. So this is a Batman comic, and everybody knows that Batman's always been dark and, a little creepy at times. But Arkham Asylum is really, really terrifying. Dave McKean's art does so much for this, especially when you see some of these paintings of the Joker. There's one part about a dollhouse, which I won't spoil, but still kind of stings my mind at night, and it's so good because of it. So if you wanted a good, scary Batman tale, there you go. Check that out. Promise you will love it. Next, let's talk about another Scott Snyder comic, Severed. with art by Scott Tuft and Attila Futaki. The art itself is great, but what I really, really love about this story is how he handles vampires. Now, many of you might already know that Scott Snyder already does vampires in American Vampire. I'm not totally caught up with it, but I've read the first 2 volumes, and it's a really good character story, which is very different from this. While he deals with a lot more characters in American Vampire, this is a traditional vampire, and when I mean traditional, I don't mean the romanticized, beautified vampire we see in so many movies. And it's just this hideous, heinous creature that eats people, basically. People always say that one of the scariest things is the fear of the unknown, and this comic hits that right on the nose. The whole story is about a boy surviving this vampire, and there are scenes that are really grotesque and really scary, but it isn't until the very end that it really hit me how terrifying it is. Because I won't spoil it. I'll leave that for you to read. But the ending leaves you with so much that you will probably be looking behind you every once in a while because of this book. Next, I'll talk about these in tandem. Gyo, if I'm saying that right, and Uzumaki. These are both written and drawn by Junji Ito, and Gyo is about this. I'll show you this right here. These fish that start coming out of the sea with these mechanical legs attached, or are they mechanical? It's hard to really tell, but they smell like rotting corpses, and they're just overflowing the city. But what's really terrifying is when the fish aren't on these legs anymore, and they have to find new hosts. And what I really like about this story is how it deals with phobia, how it deals with people dealing with phobia, and people trying to help those that have these phobias. About the burden on both of these kind of people at each end of the spectrum. And it's also really, really gross. So, again, if you're squeamish, don't check this out maybe. If you're not, please buy this. Uzumaki again. Here's that front cover. It's about a town that ends up being obsessed with spirals. And all the stories are connected, and all the stories should be read chronologically, but they're all like snippets of this town and how they're obsessed with these spirals. It's horrific. I know I just keep throwing out all these adjectives, but it's very, very true about all these books. I haven't finished this, you can tell by the little makeshift bookmark, but I will finish this tomorrow, and you can ask me about it. So far, I'm really, really loving it. Last thing I want to talk about is something I've already talked about before, and that's Lock and Key. I did a full run-through of this, and absolutely loved it. I'll post a link to those down below. Down there. You can see there what I think about it. I've spoke at lengths that Joe Hill is a fantastic writer. Gabriel Rodriguez is amazing. And Jay Fotos is a wonderful colorist. But the reason I want to talk about that is not because of the book, but because of the audiobook. So Audible has a new audiobook of Lock and Key, and it has Haley Joel Osment, it has Tatiana Maslany. And at first I was like, how are they going to translate this? And it's true that some things are missing because you need the visual, and the sound design does its best to capture it, but isn't able to at moments. But holy shit, the acting is so fucking good. I mean, honestly, if you've read the story, there's a vicious attack right in the beginning of the book. And it actually bothers me to listen to it. I know it sounds a little bit like I'm exaggerating, but the screams are way too real, and they will give you nightmares. If you are prone to not liking violence, not liking stuff like that, be wary of this. But it is so good. The sound design is really, really spot on. It really takes the places a lot of the visuals, and the music that actually is used in between scenes is really, really good. It's actually very reminiscent of the melody from Silent Hill, which doesn't sound like a copy, but it gives you that perfect mood. I'm not done listening to it, but every time I'm driving, I throw it on. And I'm a big reader, don't like audiobooks too much, but holy shit, Lock and Key is really, really good. So please, please check it out. Oh, did I mention that it's completely free? That is the best part. The whole book is free. Please check it out. 5 minutes in, you will be hooked. So those are my recommendations for Halloween. If you want to get scared, check those out. If you want to get more scared, just go read H.P. Lovecraft, because that's just perfect. Or Goosebumps, if you're 5. Not knocking Goosebumps. I grew up reading it and I love it. Monster Blood, best one. I hope you enjoyed the video. Check out all the links below. I'll post links to graphic novels from Goodreads and all that good stuff. Check out the social media stuff, Twitter. Check out our Facebook and subscribe. Yeah, that would be really great. Check out our other videos and we'll see you next time. See ya.